Hello, students. Just wanted to chat with you a little bit this morning about where we have been, where we are. It looks like most of you are going to make it. Um, we're excited about that. You guys have done well. You've put up with a lot of stuff, and so the finish line is in sight. Um, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how the semester progressed. We began with some easier issues. We talked about logic. We talked about sufficiency of Scripture, and then we took some easier issues along the way. The last couple of weeks, we've dealt with some issues that are going to be important to you going forward. Um, One of the reasons why I put more of an emphasis on apologetics as ethics applies to it is because I think that's sort of the way of the real world today. That's what you're going to be facing, not only in the world, not only in the culture, but even within your church. There are going to be some situations where some of these issues will pop up, unfortunately, because the church, as we've talked about from time to time, just does not discern very well anymore. And part of that is because of a lack of biblical preaching. So that being aside, it's not a preaching class, but I did want to just chat with you a little bit about the whole slide that progressed as we're heading down our list of issues, and we've checked with some history, and we got some philosophical stuff along the way. And one of the things that I just wanted to be able to brief you about a little bit this morning is the whole issue of evolution and the sanctity of life, because it pretty much started mid 19th century with Darwin. Now, he didn't invent that. You read all of that. His grandfather made it popular. It goes back to the classical Greeks, back before Jesus. The whole idea that pagans wanted to promote was that this thing just happened. Life as we know it just happened for no cause and no purpose. And I think along the way we've kind of pointed out the fact that that is a horribly sad state of affairs. But as you see going through this, especially we picked up on it when we got into abortion a few weeks ago. But one of the things that becomes important is the whole issue of the sanctity of life, and human life especially. You see some of the opponents that are in prestigious positions today have come up with this idea that life, whether it's human life, whether it's animal life, or whether it's plant life, is identical in value. There's no difference between you and a weed that's out in your backyard. And there's certainly no difference between you and your dog, and you may hear from mine at any moment now. So one of the things that becomes important in all of this is, how does this fit in man's relationship to God? We talked. You saw the deal on justice and righteousness and the created order and the way God worked all that out, and the whole plan of salvation. The fact that God came to earth at Christmas in the year zero is based on the fact that the plan of redemption to save us from our moral failures. So this becomes paramount, I guess, or best exemplified in the whole notion of evolution. The fact that as Darwin began to put some meat on those bones, he just basically just said that this whole thing just came about by accident in a fashion that defies logic and defies mathematical probability. When people say that the evidence is in favor of evolution, they are wildly mistaken. And the other thing that comes out of all that is, in the whole sanctity of life program, you have to see, as we talk, you've read many times now, the issue of the Imago Dei, or the image of God. It's important to understand that we were created in the image of God, and that we were created for the purpose of glorifying Him and enjoying it forever. So that gets back to some of the early creeds. So there's Um, the modern day spin on some of this is the moral relativism gets to the point where there's theological relativism. Um, so if there is if there's moral relativism to that extent, and then from that you get people like Oprah who are beating the drum that says that all roads lead to heaven, then that becomes a quandary for us as well. Um, the uh, the culture embraces it, and unfortunately for you and for me, the church embraces it. It's just difficult to imagine how people want to somehow reach across the aisle and say, hey, well, maybe God created using evolution. Well, that's just as wrong, too. We didn't go into theistic evolution all that much, um, but it's growing in popularity. Um, as you go through that slide, you'll see that it's not just a theory that stays within a science class in high school. It has permeated into almost everything, every realm of belief that there is. And until the church is able to discern better than she is today, we're gonna face this problem. So I just wanted to give you a little background on that, and as you go through these slides, I hope you have a better understanding of exactly how all of this fits together now. These were not just random scattershot ideas that we kind of came up with. There was a pattern and a progress, a devolution, if you will, of how all of this has transpired. We did try to start it off a little bit easier for you, but then all of a sudden, as it gets down to it, this is, I think, probably the stickiest wicket that we have. The whole issue of addressing evolution and the things that go along with it. The evolutionists, as it comes to ethics, understand this: survival of the fittest had nothing to do with the fact that a cheetah can chase down a zebra and eat it. Survival of the fittest, as Darwin saw it, was just the fact that it comes into reproduction. Which species is able to make more babies better? That particular species wins. The problem with that, you can just see how all this, the inconsistent logic of all this, shakes out in the fact that evolutionists are almost always pro-abortionists. So in the process of communicating the gospel to people, I think it's important for us to understand what we believe and why we believe it. And I think the evidence is clearly in our favor. So these are just some things that I think may help you going forward as you enter your ministry, or you continue in your ministry for some of you. But I think it's an important thing to be able to chat, especially with the young people, about, because in the public schools today, this is not really a theory. This is an assumed fact. Now, another problem that comes along with that is that more and more and more scientists, as they get into this objectively, are understanding that, this is not that sound of a theory. This is not really good. The problem is it's probably going to take another generation or so before the educational system follows the lead of these scientists. And when that comes, if we haven't been raptured by then, when that point comes, then perhaps we can make some progress in all this. But it's important, I think, to teach this doctrine and see how all this flows together. So these are not just happenstance things. There's a pattern. There's a procedure and a progress in all of this, and I think it's important to be able to teach it. So I hope you've benefited from it, and I hope that this will work out and be, for you in your ministry. That's all I've got for today, but I did want to let you know I'll be back on either Sunday morning or maybe Monday, and I'll talk to you about the final exam. I know you're excited about finally making it, and this being absolutely behind you and moving onward and upward. And so I'm excited for you. You guys have done pretty well, and so that's it for today, and I will see you again on either Sunday or Monday. God bless you.